Let's start with something that sounds impossible. Making fire from ice. Sounds like a riddle, right? But during the Second World War, some soldiers and downed airmen stranded in frozen wildernesses actually did it. They didn't have fancy fire starters or magnesium blocks. They had what nature gave them: ice, sunlight, and desperation. And the craziest part is, the method they used still works today. If you're serious about survival history, or you just respect old-school fieldcraft, this one's worth knowing because it shows how physics, ingenuity and human stubbornness turned freezing death traps into campfire warmth. It all began with a principle older than war itself: the lens effect. Long before the 1940s, explorers and naturalists understood that sunlight could be concentrated through glass or crystal to ignite tinder. During World War II, soldiers who trained for Arctic operations, or those who found themselves stranded in snowfields, learned to adapt that same optical trick using nothing but clear ice. The concept was as brilliant as it was primitive, turning frozen water into a magnifying glass. They'd search for a chunk of ice thick enough to act as a lens. The key was clarity. It couldn't be cloudy or full of air bubbles. Usually they cut sections of lake ice or frozen pond water. Then they carefully chipped and rubbed them down, using a knife blade, a metal edge, or even the warmth of their hands, until one side formed a convex curve. The goal was to shape it like a thick magnifying glass. Once the ice lens was ready, they used the sun itself as the ignition source. The curved surface focused sunlight into a tight, hot beam. When held over dry tinder, birch bark, shaved wood, cloth or paper, it could make the fibres smoke, then ignite. It was slow, delicate, and often required the patience of a saint, but it worked. That was the secret of fire from ice. No magic, no hidden technology, just pure physics applied by men who refused to freeze. The trick lay in the shaping and the tinder. Soldiers who mastered it knew that not all ice was equal. The best lenses came from clean, still water that froze slowly and evenly, producing transparent blocks. Stream ice, filled with bubbles and impurities, scattered light and was useless. To polish their lenses, soldiers sometimes, rubbed the surface with snow or fabric until it gleamed like glass. It was crude optics in the purest form. As for tinder, the choice was everything. Damp or dense material simply wasted effort, you know. Birch bark was prized because its natural oils caught flame even when slightly wet. Finnish and Soviet troops on the northern fronts swore by it, carrying strips of bark as both fire starter and emergency waterproofing. With the right tinder and a polished lens, a soldier could coax a spark to life in less than a minute under clear skies. There are documented accounts of Finnish long-range patrols and Soviet scouts using this very technique when their matches were soaked or lost. The Finnish sissy troops, operating deep in enemy territory, became experts at improvising in extreme cold. For them, this wasn't some parlour trick. It was survival. They used ice-lens fires to dry clothing, melt snow for drinking water, and signal allies from the wilderness. A few minutes of precision work could mean the difference between frostbite and life. Even Allied airmen who crashed in northern regions learned the method. In later years, post-war survival manuals for pilots included demonstrations of the same principle, teaching aircrews how to build an ice lens or even fashion one from frozen canteen water in an emergency. It was slow, but it gave them something priceless: control in chaos. You can still replicate the method today, and, well, it still works exactly the same way. Start with clear ice, not cloudy freezer ice, but ice made from boiled water, cooled slowly so it freezes transparent. Then shape it into a convex lens, about 2 inches thick and 3 inches across. Hold it so sunlight passes through the curved surface and converges onto your tinder. You'll see a bright pinpoint of light, concentrated solar energy that can reach over 200 degrees Celsius. Keep it steady. When you see smoke, breathe gently to feed the ember. Transfer that glowing speck to your main tinder bundle and nurture it into a flame. It takes patience, but when you finally see that ember glow, you're witnessing the same science that saved men 80 years ago in the snowfields of war. It's not just a survival trick. It's a reminder of how knowledge beats panic. The same principle works with other materials too. Clear plastic bags filled with water, curved glass bottles, or even ice wrapped in a transparent layer of film. Anything that bends and focuses light can be turned into a fire starter. Ice just happens to be the most poetic of all, turning something deadly cold into warmth and life. What makes this story worth remembering isn't only the method, but you know what it symbolizes. When we study wartime survival, we're really studying human adaptation. Those soldiers didn't have YouTube tutorials or survival schools. They had instinct, physics, and, well, desperation. Making fire from ice wasn't a clever trick for show. It was necessity turned into science. And maybe that's why it still resonates today. In a world filled with gadgets, GPS, and battery-powered everything, this technique reminds us that the ultimate survival tool isn't gear, it's understanding. If you can grasp the principles behind old-world survival, you can apply them anywhere. Fire from ice, warmth from cold, life from the lifeless. It's not just irony, it's proof of the human will to endure. So, next time someone says fire and ice don't mix, you'll know better, because World War II proved otherwise. And if you found this piece of forgotten brilliance fascinating, remember to subscribe to Warfield Survival. This is where we dig up the field-tested knowledge that kept real people alive when the world was at war. There's still so much more to uncover, because sometimes history burns brightest when it starts in the cold.